Today, I'm very fortunate to talk with one of my favorite bass player, Bryan Better. How are things, Bryan?
Hey man, how are you, Fred? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing great, man. You're on a little break from touring with the Aristocrats. This was quite a large tour. So, how's the tour going?
Well, it's done now. It's the biggest tour we ever did in North America, 9.5 weeks. We did four corners. We did San Diego, Vancouver, Boston, and Southern Florida. And it's quite an adventure to do that in a van like we do it. But we're fortunate enough that we can go to places and people want to see us. That's what makes it all work. So we had a lot of great shows, and it was a really amazing tour.
Wow. I can tell viewers here, if you haven't seen the Aristocrats live and they're in your area, do not miss this chance to see them, because it was one of my favorite concert this year for sure in Quebec City.
Oh, thank you very much. And we had a great time in Canada. So some of the biggest shows of the tour were actually in Montreal, Quebec. So that was really great. And our next stop is Europe. So we're focused our attention on the people in Europe now. We're coming there in November, December, January, February. So see you soon.
Wow. That's a big tour. It's good for you though. So, Bryan, you're just about to release your fourth solo studio album titled Scenes from the Flood. The official date is, I believe it's September 13th.
13, yes.
Yep. So, after 25 years in the music industry, how do you feel about the release? Like, are you anxious, excited?
Well, it's my third studio album. There was a live album in there, just
That's right.
to be accurate. But yeah, I feel like that this is the record that I was always trying to make. I have my two first studio albums. I'm proud of having done them, but I realized that there were some things I didn't quite say the way I wanted to say. The first album is always your first album. You just do it. You don't really know who you are, but there's a cool raw energy to it. The second album, I think maybe I was leaning a little too hard on some of the fusion aspects, and they weren't really me. And that happens, I think, sometimes as an artist, and you develop and you go in different directions. I really just decided that I wanted to make a true progressive double concept album with this third one. And I think I always wanted to do that because I'm such a big fan of Pink Floyd The Wall and Nine Inch Nails The Fragile and Yes's Tales from Topographic Oceans and the classic progressive double albums. But it takes a lot of balls to just say that you're going to do something like that, and I was kind of scared at first. But when I realized that I had something big enough to say and I had enough material to say it and it was all one unified piece of work, then I knew that it had to be a double album. Just because I'm 48 years old doesn't mean I don't get anxious and excited about these things. I'm very anxious and I'm very excited. I've been working on this for years, and it comes out in a week.
Wow. Can you briefly describe the concept of the album? It's 18 songs, 4 parts.
The 4 parts are designed as 4 vinyl sides. So, of course, I know not everybody's going to listen in vinyl, but
I will.
That's the way the album was conceived. Oh, great. Because that's the way the albums that are influenced it were conceived, really. And the overarching theme is basically about, what happens when life gets in the way of our best intentions. So the theme is really about a sort of disillusionment. We all have our plans and hopes and dreams for what we want to have happen. A lot of it does happen the way we want. A good deal of it doesn't happen the way that we want. And as you see that pattern repeat over and over, after a certain point, you kind of are able to take a bigger look at it and go, so that's how life works. And then, there's always these periods for people, I think, where you have a couple of really, truly traumatic events in your life. You're not quite the same person going out as you were coming into them. And so who are we in those moments? And what do we get to keep? And what do we have to leave behind when those moments come around? So I wanted to make a long artistic statement about that and create a soundtrack around that. And I've had some of those experiences myself, obviously. I have to draw on something. But I think hopefully the way that the story unfolds in the record and the way the music unfolds, it'll leave a lot of room for the listener to be able to have their own experience with it. Because I think that these themes are universal. Every human being goes through these things.
Yeah. Your album asks the question, like, what do we keep and what do we let go when the storm comes for us? So how would you apply that to the creation of the release of Scenes of the Flood, from the Flood?
Uh, well, I'm not sure how I would apply it to the creation. I mean, in a lot of ways, I was trying to create a context for this question to be asked. And so I think in order to do that, you need to create the things that exist before the storm comes. You know, there has to be a starting point for the story. There
Yeah.
must be some things that are threatened. There must be some things that that you have a hope for and a dream for, and then some things that are in danger. And then life happens, and then the storm comes, and then you have to look around and say, what did I lose? What do I keep? Where do I go from here? Where do I stand in all of this? So I think that's the best answer I have for that.
Yeah, that's good. Do you read the critiques and reviews? Are you happy so far with the response?
I'm very happy with the response. You know, I think one of the reasons maybe why there's a lot of press interest in this is just because of the number of people I have on it. It wasn't designed that way to be like, oh my God, look at all these people. It's just I have a tendency to kind of create big projects wherever I go. That's just I'm an organizer kind of person. Uh, and the people that I asked to be on the record, they're just the people that I'm playing with these days. I know that sounds so strange, but that's just what it was. Who was I going to ask?
Yeah, it's impressive, very impressive. Well, like you just said, you're known for your numerous collaborations with fellow musicians, and this shows again on this new solo album. Can you talk briefly about musician selection, uh, challenges you face doing so?
Well, it was not so much of a challenge as it was kind of an embarrassment of riches, really, where I had all this material and the different songs were basically asking me, "Hey, I want this person to be on this song." Like the song was asking for the musician. When I heard the demo for Volunteer State, when I was done with it, I was like, "Oh my God, I have to ask Joe Satriani to do this. It would be crazy if I didn't." Same thing with the World Class, the guitar solo on there, and the melody on there. Two amazingly brilliant technical modern rock guitarists. John Petrucci, of course, from Dream Theater, plays the solo, and Neely Brosh, a younger guitarist who has her own instrumental guitar album career, playing the very, very difficult melody on that song. And they occupy some of the same genre space, so it was good to have them complementing each other. But of course, there's a sitar in that song, and so I knew a sitar player in India who had a rock metal kind of mindset because I found him covering an Animals as Leaders song on a YouTube video, and he did a brilliant job of it. He has his own original material too. So his name is Rishabh Seen,
Wow.
and so that's on that song. Then you go in a completely other direction for more of the ethereal stuff, like the song "The Flood." Well, it's almost an ambient piece that closes the first half of the album, After the Storm. And I wanted to collaborate with an artist named Janet Feder, who is a brilliant, prepared guitarist from Denver, who affixes tiny little implements and objects on the strings of her acoustic baritone, like split rings and roach clips, to make it resonate in unusual ways. And that's just the beginning of the unusual and unique sound designs that she creates. I knew I wanted to have a piece that had a lot of space that was just the two of us. And so that's what that is. It was created for that purpose, and it's influenced by her most recent album, which is called This Close, which is brilliant. And then, on Sweetwater, I mean, like the 6/8, anthemic rock guitar melancholy ballad. There's just nobody who does that like Guthrie Govan. There's just nobody. Guthrie does everything brilliantly, but that particular thing he does very, very well, and I knew it from my work with him in the Aristocrats on the ballads that we've done. So I knew that he was the guy for Sweetwater. And then on the acoustic song, Lookout Mountain, I knew that I needed a great acoustic player, but I didn't know Mike Dawes when I wrote the demo. I ran into him online. Someone sent me a video of him playing, and I was just like, I heard not only his brilliant playing, but the amazing sound that he got on his acoustic in the studio. And I thought, oh my God, that's the guy. It has to be that guy. So, there's a lot of different ways this all went, but in the end, the music was telling me what to ask for.
Wow, that's a fun process.
It was fun. And
Yeah.
once the demos were done, it was like a kid in a candy store, like, maybe I'll do this for that, and this for that, and this for that, and that. And that's just the guitarist. I haven't even talked about the drummers.
Oh yeah.
The metal, the metal stuff has Gene Hoglan, who's amazing. The straight ahead rock stuff is Joe Travers, who I've been playing with forever, and I think is one of the greatest rock drummers in the world. The heavy progressive stuff and all is really that's Ray Hearn from the band Haken.
Yep.
Who I don't think does very many side projects. So it was great to have him on there. So yeah, I mean, there's just There's just a lot of great people on the record, and I'm very fortunate.
Humor has lots of space in the Aristocrats, while it seems to be totally different with your solo project. Subject is way more, of a serious matter. So is it intentional?
Yeah, that's just two different things. I mean, the Aristocrats is a brand and a band. We're out there to have people make them have fun, play all the notes, play all the notes again, play all the notes again, then make fun of all the notes, then make fun of ourselves, then make fun of a genre, then have an improvised section, then play all the notes again. I mean, we're just trying to have fun and get people to join along in the, okay, yeah, we're playing a lot of difficult material and it's crazy, but we're not taking it seriously. And it's a very kind of Zappa flavored thing in a way, even though it doesn't sound like Frank Zappa music. And my solo album concept and material is completely different. It's just, I knew when I heard the first melodies and songs in my head for this album, back in 2013, when I heard Volunteer State and The Storm in my head, that this was not Aristocrats music. And it had a different purpose and was coming from a different emotional space. And to me, that's the most important thing. An Aristocrats song like D-grade fuck movie jam, it's irreverent and it's obscene, but it's coming from an emotional space of, okay, some reviewer thought that we were writing really bad porno music. Well, why don't we shove it up his ass and show him what that would really sound like? That's a story, right? The Ballad of Bonnie and Clyde is about the story of a lot of my basses getting stolen. And it sounds like a noir caper almost, and so that's a story. But those are stories that we're trying to have fun with. This is a bigger, grander, kind of a deeper story. And yeah, it's not really a joke, this album. There's not a lot of humor in it. There's a lot of things in Scenes from the Flood, but humor, I guess, is not one of them.
Yeah. We all know and appreciate great classic progressive double albums. You've mentioned a few from different bands, past and present. Were you influenced by any of them for your double album? But also a musician.
Well, absolutely. I think one of the things that people don't always realize about The Wall by Pink Floyd, the melody, the main theme of the album, da 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 da, that's in 12 different songs. I mean, they committed to just, mostly Roger, of course, but they just committed to making it, this is the theme, and we're going to make an album theme out of this. You really have to do that on purpose. And so, when Nine Inch Nails, The Fragile is less, so there are a couple of themes that weave through it. Thick as a Brick is a great example of a progressive album where they really committed to a couple of themes and just did it. Yes, Tales from Topographic Oceans has a couple of themes that run through it. The answer is yes. And I think that there's a difference between just saying something as a concept album because all the songs are about the same thing, and then actually committing compositionally and arrangement-wise to saying, yes, we're going to introduce this theme in song 1, and this theme in song 3, and this theme in song 5, and now we're going to rearrange it for song 7, and we're going to combine them in song 10. Mm-hmm. To me, that's what a progressive concept album is supposed to do, and so that's what I tried to do in paying homage to the ones who came before me.
Good. You don't seem to shy away from the word progressive rock or prog like many artists do nowadays. Would you say it is your solo album that is closer to the general comprehension or definition of progressive music?
Absolutely. And I can say that my previous solo album, even though I was thinking inside my head as it was a story of an album, I listened back and it's like there's 3 songs or 4 songs that are just straight up fusion. And it's just like, that's a different thing. State of form, have the solos, state of form, and you're out. I really wanted to just get off the fence and just self-declare that this was a progressive album. Because I think in my heart I'm a progressive artist, and it just took me a while to kind of realize that. It wasn't that I was ashamed of it, I think I just didn't know.
Okay. Do you think about, or do you already think about the future album, or is it too soon to talk about it?
# too soon.
Too soon. Are there any chance to ever see Scenes from the Flood played live?
I hope so. So briefly on that, there's a couple things that I would need to get right. First of all, we'd have to have some tracks playing because you can't bring a 20-piece band. So, and I'm not afraid of that. Bands do that all the time, but it requires time to decide what parts be played live and what parts will be on the tracks. I still think I would need a 6-person band to do it right. But then even beyond that, I don't think that it would be right to just go up on stage and play the music. I think it needs lights. I think it needs video. I think it
Yeah.
needs production. It needs to be a real. I would want to put the same care into the live show, presenting Scenes from the Flood as a complete work, as I did into putting the album together. And that will definitely take time. So, yes, I want to do it. I want it to be a thing, and I want to do it right.
Super. Um, just before I let you go, I have a few more questions. They only require 1 or 2 words answer.
Sure. Lightning round.
Again, you collaborate with lots of different musicians from past or present. Name one that you wish you could collaborate with, which you never had a chance to do so.
John Scofield.
Wow. What is your favorite progressive rock double album of all time?
Uh, Probably The Wall. I think it's the gold standard.
Yeah. Growing up, who was your favorite bass player?
John Paul Jones.
Nice. Do you recall what was the first album you ever purchased?
The Wall. 9
Uh,
years old.
yeah. How old?
9.
9. Wow. On tour, who is the funniest guy? Guthrie, Marco, or yourself?
For me, it's Guthrie, just because I appreciate the whole British understated humor thing. But I mean, Marco's funny too. It's like saying which one of your kids do you like the best.
Yeah,
There's,
I
there's
know.
no there's no right answer for that.
1 word to describe Scenes from the Flood.
Disillusionment.
1 word to describe Bryan Beller.
Uh, Pass.
I was just gonna say that. If you want to pass, you can say pass. We'll find a word for you.
Pass. Yes.
Last one for you. Within your career, tell me what venue you enjoyed playing the most.
Oh, that's a good question. Uh, what venue? Well, of course, it kind of comes down to what shows you like the best, and the venue kind of would feed into that. God, that's a good question. Man, there's a couple of great ones. The uh, the Oosterpoort in Groningen, Netherlands, is a special room. I've done some special things there, and I really like that room. That place is great. And I've had a couple of great shows at a club in Belgium called Spirit of 66.
Okay. Yeah.
It's funny, is because, and speaking of the Netherlands, there's a great club there called De Boderijk. It's in Zoetermeer. I love the vibe and I love the club, but the sound is always a little challenging, so I can never say it's my favorite, but I really like it. Oh man, there's been so many places. It's
Yeah.
just kind of hard to say. I don't know. I mean, okay. I remember, like, one of the greatest experiences I ever had was playing Hellfest in France. It's a summer France festival. It's a big outdoor festival, but I haven't done that many of those. I've never been in a big metal band. Death Clock is different, and so there was a vibe in the kind of whole outdoor metal festival thing that I really, really enjoyed. I felt really free up there in some way. Hard to describe.
Nice. Nice. 2 singles from Scene from the Flood are available on YouTube. The Storm and the Volunteer State. Check them out. You gotta check them out. Bryan, wish you lots of success with this brand new baby.
Thank you.
In my book, it's going right in my top 5. I've been promoting it. It's beautiful. I love it. I'm waiting for my double or 4 vinyl set, so I'm looking forward to it. So take care and talk soon, Mr. Bryan.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support and your kind words on the album.
Take care.